yesterday or 2 days ago, I can't remember which, we're watching TMZ of all things.
Okay.
And Bob Ross's very first painting that he did on the very first Joy of Painting. Did you see that?
That's what I was going to talk about.
Amazing. You know what I'm saying?
It is amazing. In fact, I have a story queued up right now.
Hello, I'm Bob Ross.
It's not a Picasso or a Van Gogh, but the owner of this work of art believes it's worth nearly $10 million. It's the very first painting created by famed artist Bob Ross on his TV show, The Joy of Painting.
Hello, I'm Bob Ross.
It's called A Walk in the Woods and was obtained by a gallery in Minnesota. The seller says it encapsulates everything Ross is known for.
You see the pond, you see the rocks that water would have been rolling off of. You see tranquility, right? You see stillness, you see just...
You see a small squirrel. You see a piece of driftwood.
See a little pea pod.
You ready to do a fantastic little painting?
Bob Ross died in 1995, yet he has 5.5 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. A new audience still revels.
Wait, he has more subscribers than us and he's dead.
I know, and he's been dead for thousands of years.
He's been dead since before YouTube and the internet.
I know.
And we are alive. We're very much alive. There's two of us and only one dead.
There's only one of him.
We're alive. Come on, subscribers.
And the joy of painting.
So I tell you what, let's go on up to the canvas here and get started.
And a fan with deep pockets could potentially become the owner of a rare Bob Ross original.
Okay, so first of all, like you know the backstory, like all of his paintings that he did for The Joy of Painting, right? He just gave away. He gave them to the stations. He didn't sell them. Like he did all of his shows for free. Like he gave them to PBS, and I think that like has something to do with the longevity of The Joy of Painting, because they don't have to pay anybody to like re-air these episodes, because I don't know exactly how that works, but it's royalty free, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Because he made all this money on his painting classes and on his paints and all that stuff. I mean, like
he sold Bob Ross like branded paints.
Yeah. It's like a special formula that because the whole wet on wet technique that he used.
But he gave away the actual paintings.
He gave away the paintings, and he did the shows and gave the television stations, like the PBS, basically his show for free.
I didn't know that about him. That's amazing.
Let me ask you this. This is the question I want to ask you.
I think this is the inevitable question one would ask. Go ahead.
$10 million, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say $10 million for the first painting, right? Do you think anybody in the serious art world, you know what I'm talking? And when I say serious, like the stuff we make fun of all the time, right?
Right. The academic
art world, do they take Bob Ross seriously? And why not? Because I have my theories, but
that is a good question. I doubt they do. I doubt they would. And for kind of the same reason they, we're known to talk about Tolkien a lot. It's a lot of the same reason that people in academia sometimes look down their nose at Tolkien. You know, he's a popular figure, a populist figure, and he's kind of doing things almost for a mass appeal. And so I think a lot of people in academia, they feel like, I mean, I'm in academia, so I don't always want to bash academia, but I think some of the faults of academia is they tend to gatekeep, and they tend to hierarchize like art, and between like the art that they feel is that they can gatekeep with, and art like Bob Ross, which is, it's done for people and the mass. It's in a vernacular that anyone could understand, and you don't have to go to college and learn why it's good. You just like, oh, that's pretty. It looks like a sunset, Yeah.
And so, like, do you think that because it takes them anywhere from 21 to 27 minutes to paint a painting, that they're like, oh, like there's an arbitrary, there's a time limit, you have to put at least.
Well, that part of it, I don't think has anything to do with it, because nowadays, or even since Jackson Pollock, or since before Jackson Pollock, you could have an artist splash paint on a canvas and it will sell for millions of dollars, and it will be done in even less time than it took
Yeah.
Bob Ross. You know what I mean? But I think a
Yeah,
lot
but
of that, like I'm not an expert on the valuation of art. I think, like you, I think I tend to be quite skeptical or suspicious
of the
about
whole
the
art.
valuation of a lot of art. Like what objectively makes this worth $1 million and this other painting worth $20?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
sometimes it's quite you know, it's about who discovers you, who thinks you're amazing, and who's willing to promote you and therefore increase your value to a potential buyer.
yeah,
But
seriously, don't you think that if we figure that out, do you think we'd be doing this YouTube channel?
if we could only figure that out. Yeah,
If we
exactly.
could only tap into that art.
Right. Actually,
Yeah,
I wasn't going to get to this yet, and I haven't even really, we haven't really even introduced a topic formally for this video, but I think
yeah,
it's pretty obvious what we're talking about now.
Bob
But
Ross.
I did want to talk, well, just about art, but I wanted to talk, yeah, I don't want to stop talking about Bob Ross, but I want to like juxtapose this video and Bob Ross in general, and what I was just saying about like, about academia and
Yeah.
what you're forced to do in academia. Oh, there's all these ideologies that you need to consider when doing your art, whereas Bob Ross just kind of paints what he likes because, oh, look, surprise, surprise, a squirrel's coming out of that tree nest. And like he just paints in a very whimsical way, not,
Yeah, or like,
he doesn't over intellectualize it at all. You know what I mean?
yeah, look at this cabin that looks like some kind of serial killer that's just going to walk
Yeah.
out.
And there we have Unabomber's cabin.
I
And
know.
look, here we go. He's poking his head out.
I know.
There's
It's great.
Kanzinski, right?
Yeah.
Poking his little head out.
No, but do you think that art, like the academia art world or whatever you want to call it, because it's like opening the curtain. It's like, look, you guys could do this. Like anybody could do a Bob Ross painting. I mean,
I mean, right. That's funny. That's funny you should say that, because I mean, if you take Bob Ross classes or whatever and you kind of follow his instructions, yeah, I think most people could pull off something that's quite similar to what Bob Ross does, because he's not doing anything overly complicated, I don't think. So in a way, his approach, and certainly his habit of distributing these pieces of art to his viewership and to his fans, like for free, that's what one would say is like democratizing art. Like art is no longer for the elite, it's for the people or whatever. But, But there's another way of democratizing art that is propounded or idealized among the academic elite. So in some senses, the academic elite will say they want to debase art or debase the artist and democratize art. So those are the kinds of people who, through their ideology, will say, oh, I'm going into this art gallery and there's a tin can in the middle of the art gallery. That's the art. And the artist came and put that tin can there as a commentary on the art scene and the privileged status of the artist. And like, it's the whole gesture that was done in 1917 where Duchamp took a urinal and wrote Armut on the side and was like, oh, here's my art. And I think maybe that first case of an artist doing something like that, doing a piece of found art, was maybe necessary, maybe funny, maybe shocking and provocative. But you can only do that once. Because if you do that again, if you do that like a fourth time and into the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and you're like, it's like, oh, look, I found a urinal.
It's like
$50 million for this urinal.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Believe me, I don't think I haven't thought about that.
I could get some money out of this urinal.
I know. I was like, I've got this used toilet seat. How much?
But anyway, hold that thought. This video shows how art is kind of gatekept by academia. And here's this girl taking a class in art, and she's expected to, when you take an art class, you're supposed to share your art, talk about it, introduce it, speak, say something intelligent about it, and then open up that discussion to the students who are also expected to say something intelligent about it. And I think sometimes the assignment, as it were, to say something intelligent about art forces people to come up with some things that are A, kind of irrelevant, and B, like over intellectualized. Not always, but in this case, and this person was obviously very offended and maybe overly.
Right.
But the whole thing is it just speaks. Let's just watch it, and I think it just speaks to some of the problems of art in academia.
I don't do a lot of abstract art. In fact, I really kind of dislike it a lot. It's not my forte, so I really thought it would be interesting to do something that kind of looked like a person, but painted in a way that kind of goes against everything I was taught by Ken. So, it was, but that's how I've always painted, because the first time I ever painted was in his class. So I wanted to really just kind of do something very gestural, and I left parts of it blank, and other parts with paint. And I don't really know what it means, but I like the fact that there's it's a figure with a line going across its eyes, like it's blinded. Maybe someone could draw some meaning from that.
I feel like the line, it should be more, I don't know, a solid color. Because I think it should make a high contrast between the figure and the line. Because I feel like it's because it's mixed.
I mean, I've been in these kinds of situations too. The student is I think the line going through the face should be a solid color. And I bet she's probably thinking it is a solid color. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's red. It's just a solid red stripe. And I kind of feel sorry for her. Maybe she overreacts at the end. We'll get to that. Spoiler alert. But I can feel her frustration spiking, and you could see it in her face. She has to endure these people who are I don't think they're tearing her down intentionally or poking fun at her art intentionally, but they have to say something that seems thought out and intellectual and informed and maybe insightful, but it's just very awkward, and it's just kind of pains me to see this woman running the gauntlet of these comments when she's just painted this. She said she's not all that experienced painting.
Yeah, the people that are giving her comments and stuff like that are like, oh yeah, well it should have been this, but she's not really into this painting either. I mean,
no, she's not. She prefaced the whole thing by saying, I don't really like it. Abstract art isn't really my thing. Whether or not this is abstract art is to be debated, but she already kind of was very self-deprecating about it.
I've taken art class. I mean, when I went to school for art, there's assignments that are BS, and you just kind of, but you try to own it some way.
I feel like let's just watch her blow up a little bit, and we'll discuss it. But yeah,
with different colors, it feels like it's one.
Yeah, I think it looks like underworked outsider art.
Anyway, I think this is the comment that irritates her the most, when the student said it looks like overworked outsider art.
What the hell is that supposed to even mean?
Well, outsider art is like a genre of art that's kind of supposed to be naive and not doesn't really follow the rules, seems untrained, almost childlike, a Billy Childish or a Daniel Johnston or something like this. This drawing, the original, probably could sell for a few $1,000s now, because the guy Daniel Johnston has a name for himself as an outsider artist, and it was probably just done on pen on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And so it seems untrained. It's just kind of sketchy and childlike. So that's outsider art. But then when the woman says it looks like underworked outsider art, it's like, what does that mean? Because the definition of outsider art is that it's underworked. The whole point of outsider art is that it's underworked.
Right,
So that's
right.
kind of irritating. But it also, because it's underworked outsider art, that seems like it could be taken as an insult. Like, oh, you're trying to be an outsider artist, but you're not working hard enough at being like an outsider artist, which is
Right.
It doesn't take a lot to be an outsider artist because it's like a double insult. Like, oh, you look like a really outsider artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
So you could see her face right after that
Like
comment.
it looks like outsider art.
Like right there.
Right?
See that mouth opening? She looks
way more
pissed.
successful like that.
Yeah, I know.
Is that what outsider art means?
Yeah, it's like people who are untrained and haven't had, and often it's like inmates and people who are crazy and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you went like a different direction than what you normally do, but I think that the face looks like you, and I think that you do a lot of art that's like focused on yourself because you are a fashion designer, so you kind of like work from your own body, and I don't know if you meant to do that.
Okay, well this is fucking bullshit. I'm sorry, but like, I spend so much time on these fucking projects. This is fucking shit. I fucking hate in front of this fucking class.
Unfortunately, the video ends there.
And then everyone stood up and gave it applause.
Yeah.
And when she came back in,
Brilliant performance.
performance aspect
I mean,
of it.
I do.
Right.
It's like I want to reach out to this poor girl and be like,
Hey, I thought your painting was cool.
I can fix you. No, I like. No, she seems like I sympathize with her. Everyone's had a bad day like this, and I certainly don't mean to like make fun of her by putting this video in front of a wider audience, but
it's a litany of pompousness.
exactly. Well, my point is that's my point. Academia does this to people. It forces people to be fake and BS artists. You know what I mean? Like you have to kind of lay on the BS, whether positive or negative or neutral. You just have to like overwrought any action or any image with intentionality and with ideology, and like, oh, what did you mean by this, by the way you blocked out her eyes with this, and nothing can just be like a squirrel on a branch like in a Bob Ross painting.